Imposter syndrome can show up at any stage of our journey, no matter how many times we feel like we've overcome it, because we're constantly stretching into new versions of ourselves and new levels. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to actually use it to your advantage. And when you do this, you can create an even bigger upgrade when you actually know how to alchemize it and turn it into something that's actually empowering for you. So I'm going to give you a tangible coaching tool, a powerful practice that you can implement right away if you are experiencing any version or any level of imposter syndrome. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Lisa Limuta. I am one of the co-founders here at Rise Leadership Circle, where our mission is to expand you into owning new levels of your value, your power, and your worth. So when this was several years ago, I went through my own, what I call the dark night of the soul that led into a spiritual awakening. This whole process for me was really, honestly, very difficult. But what came from the other side of it was this newfound peace. And I was such a changed person on the inside that it was no longer in alignment for me to simply coach the way I had been coaching without actually incorporating in the tools and the resources that I was using along my spiritual journey and my spiritual path. In order for me to be truly authentic to who I was and my voice, and to be in alignment for the clients I was serving, it required me to be all of me. But I will tell you that when I first began talking about using your intuition and being an intuitive life coach, I definitely had imposter syndrome. There was a part of me that was really questioning if this was the right thing to do, if I could combine it with my business and bring it into the conversations that I was having with my clients, or even conversations like this early on. And so that was just one of the many ways I've experienced what I would call imposter syndrome in my life. I certainly felt it the first time that I announced myself to be a coach after I'd completed my coach training and was launching my business. And if you're listening to this, it's likely that you can relate to this on some level as well. And I've continued to experience different flavors of it as I have stretched into new experiences and new levels all along the journey. But I have found that there are some incredible tools that can actually help you alchemize, if you will, right? To really turn it into gold. Because what I found is that when we're willing to actually face it, so instead of running from it, we look at what's coming up for us, what's having us have this bout with imposter syndrome, you can actually alchemize it and tap into your power in a bigger, bolder way, which creates even more of an upgrade for you. So there are a lot of different ways that it shows up. And I see this a lot with the people I work with. Sometimes when we've hit a new level, this could be a new job title, a new job that you've stepped into in your career. This could be announcing, starting as an entrepreneur and leaving a career maybe that you identified with for many years and then stepping into something else completely. This could be, a lot of people that follow us are on a soulful or a spiritual journey. And this could even be, talking about your own spiritual beliefs and incorporating that into your business in such a way that feels most authentic and most aligned. I believe it's really important that we are living and working in alignment with the truth of who we are, and not that we have to become someone else when we're at work or pretend that side of us doesn't exist. So for me personally, that has just never worked. And I am the happiest, most fulfilled version when I can be my full self. So what we're really talking about when we have an experience of something like imposter syndrome, where we feel like we're not fully qualified maybe to be doing what we're doing, or we're experiencing something along those lines, what we're actually speaking about is your identity, and specifically how you relate to your own identity. We think it's about how other people are seeing us, but it truly is about how you are seeing you. And this is where the magic is, really, because it's an invitation for you to see the truth of who you are. So if you're feeling like an imposter, if you're feeling deep in self-doubt, know that actually this is an opportunity for you to just reconnect with your higher self, because your higher self is that connection to your internal wisdom. And we all have it. Even if you don't feel like you're particularly intuitive, you can probably recall times, you guys, if you've been following me for a while, you may have heard me say this before, you can probably recall times where you just knew, where when things get still and quiet, you have this inner voice that speaks peace, speaks truth, and there's just a wisdom to it that you know you can trust it. Now, even if you haven't tapped into this inner voice for a while, I do have some previous episodes where you can go back, and if you want to learn a little bit more about this, reach out to me and I can definitely direct you to those episodes that will help for sure. But anytime you find yourself saying things like, oh, do I belong here? Or I wonder, what are people thinking of me as I begin to speak my truth? Or maybe it's a comparison where you're comparing yourself to other people in your particular niche or your particular market, and you're wondering if you're as good as they are. Those are all ways that it shows up, and those are clues that it's time to really reconnect with your own truth and your own identity. Anytime that we're trying to find validation outside of ourselves is an indicator that we've just lost that connection with the internal voice. But the good news is we can reconnect, and that's where the alchemy happens. So your validation for being here, for sharing your message into the world the way that only you can, will always, always be found within your heart. And this is also the window to what I call your higher self or your soul voice. And that's why when I'm working with my clients, we always want to be creating in this space. We do a lot of logic, we do a lot of mindset work, we do strategy, but we don't go there until we've tapped into our center first. Because this is the part of us, when we're tapped in here, our intuition is on point. And it's kind of like having a fast track or having this intuitive guidance to really lead the way so that we don't waste time going down the wrong track or chasing dreams and goals that are only meant to feed our ego and not to fill our soul. So here's what I've really, really come to understand is that authenticity is what validates. And I want to say that again, because I really want you guys to get this. So authenticity is what validates. Our truth, our authentic being, all of who we came to be in this lifetime is what validates you to do what you do. It's what validates you to share your voice with the world. You don't need anyone to give you permission outside of you when you're really tapped into the space of alignment. So instead of running from imposter syndrome when you notice that you're having some flavor of experience of it, instead go straight into it. Be willing to actually pull back the covers and see what's actually happening. This willingness to be vulnerable and to say to yourself, maybe you bring it to a coach. This is definitely the work that we do inside of our community at Rise Leadership Circle, is being willing to pull back the covers and see what's there. To really look at what are some of those thoughts that I've been believing? What have I been saying to myself that has me feeling like an imposter? You can take an inventory of your thoughts if you just sit down and maybe do a brain dump, or you could even voice this out to a coach or to a friend who you really trust. It's so important to embrace where you are right now. So I want to speak specifically to the person who is maybe going through an up level. You're stepping into something bigger in your life right now, and you're doubting yourself. You're feeling scared. You're feeling alone. You're feeling unsure. Embrace where you are now. Embrace where you are now and trust that it's okay. These fears, these doubts, these thoughts, it's all okay. The way that we can begin to shift it is by bringing in compassion. So whenever you notice that you are in this space where you're not feeling so good, go straight in, take a look at those thoughts, what's hiding beneath the covers, and embrace where you are. Let's just accept it. Let's not make it wrong. Let's not run from it. This is how we get into our heart. Sometimes I say this, I feel like I say these words like, well, get into your heart or tap into your higher self. And people will say to me, but how? Like, what does that even mean? I'm not tapped into that. I don't understand. So the doorway to enter in is always through compassion. Can you bring in compassion for the version of you who's scared, for the version of you who's in an experience of self-doubt? Because the moment we bring in compassion, I just did this with one of my mastermind groups where I walked them through this exercise. And I was working with a client who was feeling stuck. How we sometimes will get just like stuck with so much like worry or fear. And the minute we opened the door to self-compassion, she was able to tap back into that inner wisdom and find the answer. So I want to walk you through an exercise right now so that you can do this on your own, and you can go from feeling this experience of, really doubting, to tapping back into your personal power, and in such a way that you can't help but get your voice out into the world. So I actually created a PDF for you so you don't have to worry about taking notes. I'm going to walk you through this right now, but I created a PDF so that you can actually download it and you can take yourself through this coaching exercise. So when you listen into these episodes, I really want you to think of this like your own personal coaching session, where you walk away with a tool, with a resource, with something you can utilize in your life to create a shift fast. So I actually use the acronym for the word SHIFT to help you remember to do this when you don't have the PDF handy. It's just 5 steps. And the first one you're going to do, we're going to start at the top with the S. This is the S in SHIFT, is for see it and feel it. You're going to see it and feel it. The best way to do this is to do a brain dump. Get out a piece of paper and unfiltered write down all of those real and raw thoughts that you're having that are having you feel not so good. Remember to include your emotions, include how you're feeling. No one else ever has to see this or read it, so be real and be honest with yourself, but get it all out. Fill up as many pages as you need to. And then you're going to move on to the next step, which is the H, and this is for how old is this part of you? So once you brain dump it all out on paper, what you're going to want to do is just look at it, just notice, just observe what's there for you, and then you can ask yourself, how old is this version of me? Your answer may be that she is, a 7-year-old version of you, a teenage version of you. Maybe it's the version of you that was just here a few minutes ago, and that's okay. There is no right or wrong. But I want you to just notice that this voice within us that's in fear and worry and doubt is always some younger version of who we are. When we're really rooted firmly in the present moment, we're generally in a space of peace. So just identify, and if you don't know, make it up. You can give her or him an age. And then step 3 is the I in SHIFT, and this is invite compassion. Remember, when we invite in compassion, this is the doorway into our greatest wisdom, into our higher self. So when you invite compassion, I want you to imagine that you're connecting with that younger version of you. The younger version of you who learned to be scared. The younger version of you who just really wants to fit in and not be left out. The younger version of you who likely wants to be accepted and loved. And I want you to just imagine that you could look in her or his eyes and bring in a sense of compassion. What would you say to that younger version of you? What would you tell her? This is where you're really going to get a sense of your wisdom coming in, where your higher self is going to remind that younger version of you that she's powerful, that she's brave, that she is here on a mission, that she is meant for more, that her work is meant to be out in the world. So spend some time there. You could put pen to paper again if that feels good. And then you're going to move on to the next step. The 4th one is the letter F, and it's flip the script. So do these thoughts, that first brain dump that you had, that part that feels disconnected, does it align you to your power or does it separate you from it? Just check in. Most of the time when we're having an experience of imposter syndrome, we're separated from our personal power. So we're just checking in with ourselves. And then the final one is where the alchemy really occurs. This is the T. And you train your brain by consciously practicing empowering thoughts that align you to your personal power. So if you take yourself through this exercise, I know it sounds really simple, but the way that this actually makes an impact is if you get out your journal, or you can download the PDF and print it off. You can write right there and walk yourself through this. What thoughts support you to keep moving forward? What would it be? Maybe it's reconnecting back with the thought that your mission matters, that you have a calling on your heart, that it feels impossible to move forward without being the truth of who you are. That even if you're not as far along as, someone else, or where you'll be a year from now, where you are is perfect. And you begin to practice these thoughts. I love to write them on sticky notes. I love to put them in my phone and to just begin to practice that shift every time I'm feeling something that is not the truth of who I am. Because the truth of who I am always feels like peace within me. And anytime the voice of my ego is getting loud, anytime I'm feeling anything that resembles imposter syndrome, I know that I'm disconnected from my true self. And it's just an invitation to go back. So the real work, this is how we know this is our work, right? If this is coming up for you right now, it's coming up so that you can heal it, so that you can step even more fully into your power, so that you can have the experiences that you really want to have, and so that you can make a bigger impact and a bigger difference in the world, no matter how big or how small, no matter what you're feeling called to do. So take this on, download the PDF, walk yourself through the steps, and let me know what it feels like to go through this shift. I'm always available to hear your stories, to hear your questions. This is just a snippet of the work that we do inside of our programs, inside of Rise Leadership Circle. I've talked a lot in the past about our membership program called The Circle. And we also have a retreat coming up, and this retreat is going to be taking place in Savannah. It is a retreat for female entrepreneurs who want to spend some time having a luxurious experience of getting to be with like-minded other entrepreneurs. We're going to be in Savannah in November, and it's a 3-day experience. If you want to come and join us, let me know, send me a message. I'm so happy to tell you more. This is an opportunity to be a part of our world. We're going to do, I think, maybe just 1, maybe 2 working sessions, but the purpose of this is to just really be in community with each other. So let me know if you'd like some more information. We also have a package right now that includes some one-on-one coaching between now and November. I'd be happy to tell you about. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this resonated for you, please let me know. Please be sure to share this episode with someone who really needs to hear it, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. All right, enjoy working through this process, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.